Hey there, I'm Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty, welcome this evening. We're doing our weekly update. Tonight is November 9th, 2023. Live on YouTube and Rumble, at least live on both channels for now. We're going to be doing a little break off at the end of this onto the Rumble channel due to the fact that some of our content tonight may not be exactly politically correct, so to speak. Alrighty, I see our Rumble stream is now coming up online. Our YouTube stream appears to be coming online. Let me see, make sure it's running. Someone give me a holler in the chat over on the Rumble side if you can hear me. We're going to see. I know we had a couple of audio and technical issues on the last stream, and so we're doing a little revisit tonight on some of that, but otherwise we're going to be going live. We've also got some real interesting material I want to cover here. Been looking into a lot of things recently, and also have a new gun review tonight. Got to take a new gun out to the range yesterday. Had a lot of fun with that. Definitely, it's something that a lot of people may be interested in as well, because of the fact it is a really, really decent gun at a really, really excellent price. So we'll be getting into that tonight. A couple of legal updates we're going to get into first. Kind of touch on the yawner Supreme Court stuff, but well, whatever. Alrighty, legal updates. First off, earlier this week on Tuesday, the Supreme Court began hearing the Rahimi case. If you're not familiar, this may actually revoke the prohibition on weapons for people under domestic violence restraining orders. Now, before we react too far on this, we'll see where this comes in and why this sort of a double-edged sword could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I actually know a couple of domestic violence advocates who are also 2A advocates who have come out on the side of this being a good case. Now, this is based out of a case in Texas. Now, first off, before you look too deep into it, I'll let you know Mr. Rahimi has got quite of a checkered past. He is far from what we'd consider the model citizen or the model person. You probably might not want him as a next door neighbor. You probably might not want anyone in your family dating this fine fellow. However, as much as Mr. Rahimi's past is a little bit questionable at best, and some of his actions and antics are questionable at best, this is a big thing because it's protecting due process. Remember, if we think about it, a domestic violence restraining order is typically a single-party order. One person goes to the court and they get a protective order. The other party frequently is not there. They get served with the order by law enforcement, who shows up unexpected, unannounced, everything else, and says, here, congratulations, your ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, whatever, got this served against you, and we're taking all your guns with you. These have been used in the past to sometimes disarm domestic violence victims. Because remember, whoever goes to the court first is the victim, and whoever goes to the court second is the bad guy or girl or suspect. So, if in case of a nasty breakup, someone could easily go and use this single party proceeding to actually disarm someone, to put them, in fear of their safety. In the single party nature, there's no right to face the accusers. So they're bringing up, look, if a domestic violence restraining order has been protested or contested by the second party, or there's a conviction for domestic violence, hey, fine, we may want to disarm those people. However, with this being a single party order, a little bit questionable there. We don't want domestic violence victims to be disarmed. We don't want victims to be victimized again by the court system. This can also potentially play into some states where they have red flag laws. Remember, ladies, I hate to say it, and I know there's a lot of females who are really concerned about this, but I'll put it this way. If you have a firearm for your safety and your ex goes and says, well, I think she's a danger to me, and you get served with a restraining order, guess what? They take your gun away. Now, who doesn't have a way to protect themselves? That's okay. You can hire an attorney to get your property back at your expense. So again, with it being a single party situation, no due process, no facing your accusers, no stating your side of the case, again, it's sort of like the red flag laws. While they can have good uses, and I'm not saying none of them do, the single party nature of them makes them very problematic in the due process side. So if Rahimi comes through the Supreme Court, there is a possibility that there may have to be more due process exercised before we can disarm someone. And due process is always a good thing. Nobody wants to lose a constitutional right without at least due process. So that's where that case is. The oral arguments went on earlier this week. Hopefully, we'll hear about it either late this year or early 2024. Secondly, another big legal development. This one came down yesterday. The Northern District Court of Texas granted a nationwide injunction on the pistol brace rule. Now, as you know, the pistol brace rule has been a holy grail. We can date the pistol brace back through, I think, 2 or 3 of my videos, Pistol Brace Part 1, Pistol Brace Part 2, the saga continues, where braces that, go back to 2012 as being fine, and then they weren't, and then they are, and the ATF has already said they're okay, fine. Well, the Northern District Court of Texas granted a nationwide injunction on any enforcement of the pistol brace rule. Now, there had already been an injunction in the Mock v. Garland case out of the 5th District because of the fact that the ATF, based on their ruling, had overstepped the APA rule, which is the Administrative Procedures Act, which we'll get into in a minute. But in addition, this case, based on the common use doctrine. Now, that's under the Caetano concept. Okay, let's dig into this for a minute. Under the APA, or Administrative Procedures Act, the ATF and other federal agencies, EPA, DEA, FDA, they can't make law. Congress makes laws. These executive agencies can make regulations. Well, in order to make a regulation, they publish a proposed final rule. And then they have to take comment on it for a set amount of time. Based on the comment, they can change or amend it or make differences on it, and then they publish the actual regulation. The final published regulation needs to be based on at least what the previous proposal was. Well, when they did this pistol brace rule, there were a lot of things where they sort of overstepped the APA. Their proposed final rule and their final rule they put out, major differences, major changes. Well, based on that, they never took comment on what their proposal was. They did not follow the regulations or the rules or the law they should have followed to make a regulation. I know, crazy. I'm not a lawyer. I understand it, though, a little bit. Simplest version, if they make a regulation and do it that it oversteps their authority under the Administrative Procedures Act, the courts can knock that regulation out. Well, the previous case, Mock v. Garland in the 5th District of Texas, said, look, they've way overstepped the APA on this. Okay. This one not only said, yes, they overstepped the APA on this and they went too far from what their proposal was. We agree with what the 5th District said. Additionally, they said that given the fact that braces are in common use by law-abiding citizens for law-abiding issues under the common use doctrine, they should be covered. They're not that different than anything else out there. Now, they say there's between 3 and 7 million braces currently in use. Quite frankly, I think there's more than that. We know there were between 10 and 40 million sold. So at least 3 to 7 in common use. Based on common use doctrine, that attracts back to Heller and Bruin, Supreme Court decisions stating, look, something's in common use by law-abiding citizens for a legal purpose. You can't just go ahead and wake up and make it illegal one day with some crazy regulation, which is pretty much what they've done. So there's a nationwide injunction against any enforcement of the pistol brace rule. Thank you to the Northern Federal District Court of Texas. Now, I mentioned Mock v. Garland. That was a 5th District case, same issues, And that court, again, was primarily focused on the APA violation. That granted an injunction from people who were members of the GOA, and I believe it was the FPC, Gun Owners of America, and Firearms Policy Coalition, who were the plaintiffs in there. They granted an injunction saying that you can't enforce your pistol brace rule against any of the plaintiffs. This court went a step further and said, we're going to just put a nationwide injunction in. This is crazy because we've got multiple federal cases against this one issue. So again, that and expanding the common use doctrine. Now, here's the fun part. The ATF can appeal this ruling. We know they can, and we know this is why pistol braces have been kind of a common topic for me for a while. But here's the fun part. Guess who they're going to appeal it to? The Northern District Court of Texas is one of about 90 district-level courts. They appeal to the circuit court. They would be appealing to the Fifth Circuit, which is the one that's already, in another case, talked about the APA issue and said, no, they issued that injunction. So since they've already kind of slapped the ATF's hand at the Fifth District, the ATF doesn't want to take this to appeal in the Fifth District because guess what's liable to happen? They're liable to take another hand slapping. Now, hopefully the Fifth District stands true on this. No reason to say they won't. To me, at the simplest level, forget all the legal mumbo jumbo and everything else, the ATF and all their lawyers have run in circles with this for the last year or better. Now, when you look at braced pistols and how many of them are actually involved in real crimes, you realize that pistol braces are not the problem. You know what? Every time we turn around, we can look at any weekend in Chicago and see how many people were shot and killed or, shot and wounded. And the vast majority of it isn't braced pistols. We can look in any major city, look at New York, look at Baltimore, look at Dallas, Texas. We're seeing shootings all the time. And what are we seeing? Are we seeing braced pistols? No. Braced pistols are an item. They're out there. Some people have them. Some people use them. I've been known to have one or two in my life. But honestly, braced pistols are not what we're seeing on the street. They're not that big of an issue. And so to try to fight a brace pistol, is it a pistol? Is it a rifle? What is it really? Is it a brace? Is it a stock? We can go look at all my previous videos. I'll throw links in here above that explain all the brace and stock and all that stuff. They're running in circles, wasting time and taxpayer dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, even if they waved their magic wand and got rid of them tomorrow, it would not change gun crime or gun homicides in this country by 1 percentage point. So, one more giant waste of time, effort, and energy by the ATF trying to go after firearm owners for something that's not the problem. Gee, have we seen this before? Alrighty, enough of that and enough of the rants about the APA, but if you want more on it, please drop me a note. Like I said, I'll link in the video chat for where to find the first video on pistol braces, part 1, that explains all the technical braces and stuff. To me, it's just, a non-issue, but they're making big deals of it. Alrighty. We have a quick incident report to file out of Denver, Colorado. I mentioned this the other night a little bit, and I know the audio kind of crapped out part of it, so I'm going to touch on it again because I thought it was kind of important. There was an incident back in September that happened outside a bar in downtown Denver called Whiskey Row. A female presents a fake ID and is denied entry into the bar. She argues with the doorman repeatedly and to the point that she had her fake ID confiscated. Gee, imagine that. She then walked a few steps away from the door, turns and fires blindly into the crowd. She ends up wounding 5 people. She fled the area with a male who's later determined to be 27 years of age. And some of these individuals were seriously injured. There are people who are still having trouble walking, people who had bones and legs or ankles shattered. Just stupid stuff. You got denied entry into the club with your fake ID, And so what are you going to do? Turn around and again, fire blindly into the crowd. Fortunately, she was, aiming low enough that people were not, mortally wounded. No one got like shot in the chest or anything, but, stupid, 50 Shades of Stupid, right? Well, let's go a step further. She was picked up on October 19th. We found out that she was arrested in California. Now, this happened in Denver. She fled to California. She's 17 years old. So a 17-year-old with a fake ID is trying to get into a club at 11 o'clock at night in Colorado and ends up shooting 5 people. Now, I'm here to tell you the 17-year-old did not get that gun through a legal channel. That 17-year-old did not have permit or authority to carry that gun. Definitely not to carry it into a bar in Denver. So what are we looking at? One more that sort of fits our formula of prohibited possessors. Someone who had no business with a firearm at point 1, who ends up with it, illegally, and had someone turned her in and gotten that firearm taken away from her, we could have stopped 5 people from getting wounded. Now, the good thing is the DA in Colorado is saying they're charging her as an adult and will try her as such. I'm all for it. I bring this up primarily because of what I said before with our formula. The formula is really simple. People who have no business with guns, underage, prohibited possessors, cause the vast majority of the problems. Now, rather than fooling and screwing around with pistol braces or any of this crazy stuff, how about we try to get the guns out of the hands of people who have no business with them? I've mentioned the cases in Florida that's used by the sheriff's offices down there, by some of them, where they actually put a bounty on these guns that are illegal, guns in the hands of prohibited possessors. Imagine if someone had ever called in and said, hey, look, so-and-so is 17 and she's carrying a gun. There's a problem. If law enforcement had checked on that, followed up with it, guess what? We take the gun out of the hand of the 17-year-old, 5 people don't get wounded. That would be a logical approach. I'm not for a bunch of extra gun laws. I'm for getting rid of stupid gun laws. So it is what it is. But that's Denver, Colorado. Again, if they want to get bad guns off the street, and when I say bad guns, I'm not talking in the hands of normal law-abiding citizens. People who buy illegal guns, people who are prohibited possessors with illegal guns, are the source of our problems. We've seen it before. We've seen it many times. Now, I wanted to do a new gun review. Went up to our friends at Palmetto State Armory. Quite frankly, I'll admit, fellow instructor had posted a review of a PSA gun online, and it looked kind of interesting. It was on special. And so I went up there, and there was the Dagger and the Dagger Compact that were both on special. And after looking them over, I decided to check out this new Dagger Compact. What is the PSA Dagger Compact? Now, for those of y'all who don't live in South Carolina, just to let you know, I do live in South Carolina. Fortunate, I'm about 30 minutes from my local PSA, and they do kind of know me there. I may or may not have spent some money there. I've got a PSA Admiral 1911 M1 I did a review on a few weeks back. Very impressive gun. Very nice gun for the price point. So I wanted to check out another PSA gun. So I went up and picked up one of these Dagger Compacts. Now, the Dagger Compact comes with one magazine. It's a 15-round magazine consistent with like a G19, a Glock 19 magazine. It's 9mm semi-auto pistol. Comes with a gun lock, a little owner's manual. Now, if you remember my PSA Admiral review, I said one of the things that took a really nice gun and made it feel really cheesy is the fact that the manual and everything and all the instructions that came with it looked like a kid's coloring book that was gone bad. Well, PSA definitely classed this one up. The actual owner's manual is top notch, has all the breakdown steps, comes with little decals and stuff in it. It comes all the maintenance steps, everything else in it. Honestly, I will give this in the top 10 of manuals I've gotten, even buying high-end stuff, Smith stuff, everything else. I'm a big believer in Smith & Wesson, and this manual and this breakdown manual, everything, how to tear down, how to clean it, how to disassemble it, all the part breakdowns. Very, very nice. Now, when they call it a compact, it's, I guess, it's smaller than the full size, but it's not really necessarily that compact. There it is on a measuring tape. You can see it comes in at about 6.5 inches across the top of the slide. It's not a bad firing gun. It's not that big and bulky. A little bit thick on the grip, but overall very, very manageable. But again, don't think of it as being such a compact gun. It's kind of a little bit chunkier than a compact. But that's okay, because I'm a little bit chunkier than a compact myself, so what the hell. Now, I'm going to blow this up here. I put it up against a couple of my Smiths just to sort of give you an idea as to what was what, or to give you some comparison. Now, on the left-hand side on the bottom is a Smith & Wesson Shield 1.0, the standard Smith Shield with the 8-round magazine. On the bottom right is a Smith & Wesson Shield EZ 2.0. Again, similar guns. They're both considered to be somewhat compact in nature, so I went with those for size comparisons. I understand there are people all over the country who may not be able to drive to your local PSA and grab one to check it out. Again, it's similar in size and frame size to like a Glock 19 or so. And again, pretty nice gun overall. I looked it over, was interested, said, okay, I think I'll take this out to the range and test it out a little bit. So I did. I got the weights on them here. To give you an idea, the PSA Dagger Compact, weight 23 ounces. The Smith Shield EZ runs about 22.9. Smith & Wesson Shield 1.0 with 7-round magazine is 20.5 ounces. And the Shield 1.0 with the 8-round magazine, the extended mag, is 20.9 ounces. Now, interesting to note, when you look at the capacity on those, and I'm sorry the way that table came out, it didn't look like that the way when I did it originally, but this one's a 15-round magazine as opposed to the other ones that are 7 or 8s. So again, for that little 0.1 ounce of more weight, frame weight than the EZ, you get 7 more shots. Kind of nice. As opposed to, about 3 ounces or 2.5 over the Shield. And what do we got? Again, 7 or 8 more shots. So having 15 pews per magazine as opposed to 7 or 8, and not that much more weight to it. A little bit hair bulkier, but again, not much more. Now, the other thing that's interesting with the Dagger is, in the Dagger Compact, there's a lot of options available for it. If you look on the left-hand side there, they've got one that's got cutouts on the frame on the top side. I don't have that model, and I didn't have a chance to weigh that model and compare it. I do wonder, however, if that model wouldn't actually, with those cutouts, come in lower weight than the Smiths. Could be. Not sure. Again, the one on the left there is a 15-round magazine as a base. The one on the right, you'll see it not only has the fancy cutouts on it, it's got the fluted barrel, as well as it's got the threaded barrel on the end where you could attach something to if you were so inclined and possess said item. The other thing is, if you look at the one on the right, the sights are moved forward, which allow you to put an optic on the rear of it. If you want to put a red dot optic or something like that, you can get different slide tops that allow you to add an optic or add a different type of optic. You can also, as you see in the bottom center there, get various designs on your slides. Now, personally, I've never been one to have, my firearm be a fashion statement. Basic black goes with everything. I've got, plenty of firearms. But if you were so inclined and you wanted the distressed stars and stripes like that one, you can buy this gun and you can swap out slides. You can get different things. Again, threaded barrels, unthreaded barrels. You can get a slide on the top that is all optics ready. You put your optics on it and you can rock and roll with that. If you want something a little bit smaller, well, then you can go with the other slide that doesn't have your optics on it. Honestly, it's a really interesting base gun to do a lot of tweaking and tinkering with. So, very, very interesting. Now, as we go further with it, Palmetto State Armory, again, they don't pay me anything for this. I don't get anything from them for it. Would kind of like it if I did. But on the other side of the coin, they've got packages available with these guns, with their daggers and their dagger compacts. One package they had is the dagger compact. Now you'll see that one doesn't have the fancy graphic top on it, the top slide. It doesn't have the threaded barrel. However, it does have the cutouts on the top slide. But it comes with 10 15-round magazines. It comes with a gun lock and a carry case for it. Now, they didn't have that one in stock or that package deal available when I was there. Had they had it, though, I think that one right there would have been about $469. Now, when you figure magazines are $15 a piece, $20 a piece, you figure, okay, 10 magazines, $15 a piece. Hell, that's $150 right there. If you got $450, the gun is under $300 with the case. Definitely, a price point that you can live with. $469 for all that right there looks really, really, really nice to me. That's what I'd originally intended on doing. They didn't have that deal in stock, and I wanted to go out and get something to take to the range and do a test out and do a new gun review on. So I went ahead and I got the other one. So now you've seen all the deals and all the cool stuff you can do with it. Tell me about the gun, Sully. Tell me about the gun. Is it any good? Can you get a good gun for under $300? A good polymer frame, semi-auto, 15-round mags for under $300? Can you do it? Yeah, you can. Overall, the gun shot really well. Looked, when I looked it over, to be quality made. There is a little bit of slack on the take up for the trigger, but as far as when it breaks, when it resets from the wall, it's barely a hair of a reset. Double taps fire easy. Gun has good control. You'll notice it's got the sort of the textured finish there. I'd rate the texture a little bit more textured than the Smith 1, the MP1 series, not quite as aggressive texturing as the 2.0 series. I know I've seen a couple of the Shield 2.0s that, they can sand down your hand a lot, especially if you're sweaty and your skin is really moist. They can take a layer of skin off with them. You almost have to wear them down a little bit. This one was very nice to fire, fired well, no malfunctions, no reliability problems. Takedown is very simple. If you're familiar with the Glock takedown, it's basically identical to it. If you look at them closely, you can just tell it's a very similar to a Glock frame. It uses Glock G9 mags, so you can get like a 15 or 27 or 33 rounders. I picked up some 15-round magazines to go with it. If you're looking seriously for a carry gun, and again, this one you can see the sights are all the way back, but it's got the footprint pre-milled out on your slipper slide there to put an optic on it. If you want to swap anything out, do something. It's got the front serration for the carry cuts on there. And again, weight-wise, it comes in at a hair over the Smith Shield or the Smith Easy. But when you look at having the 15-round capacity, definitely well worth it. Now, from what I fired with it, I was shooting decent groups at about 15, 20 yards. Defensive grade shooting. Fine, no problem. I'm not going to be using it for, target shooting or long range shooting, but I wanted to do something to sort of put the word out about a decent gun that's not going to break the bank. Do you need a gun? Do you want to get an extra gun? Do you want to have a spare? Do you want to have, an extra carry gun? It's a little bit bigger and bulkier than, some of the day-to-day carry guns, especially if you like, say, the Smith Shield. A little bit bulkier than that. But again, we know winter's coming, and so you'll have a little bit more room to hide your gun, a little bit more concealability, and so that will definitely help you out on that. Overall, like I said, great gun, excellent price point, no complaints whatsoever after putting about 25 hollow points through it and about 200 just jacketed round nose. So definitely decent gun. I'm going to be taking it out more. I'll let you know if I have any trouble with it or anything else. But out of the box, cleaned it up, checked it out, took it out to the range, and had a good time with it. So I'll definitely take that any day. That is the biggest part of our stream for tonight. Now, there is a couple things we need to talk about that, well, maybe YouTube doesn't like me talking about or won't like me talking about because, yeah, it's been a while since we've had a Sully rant. So I think we've got to go over and get to rumbling on the Rumble channel and see what we can get into. So give us a minute here. I'm going to shut the YouTube stream down and we're going to start rumbling. Be right back.